with our expert panelists joining us right now. Dr. Sandeep Budhiraja, Group Medical Director of Max Healthcare, will also being joined by Dr. Rajiv Dasgupta, member of the National Task Force of COVID-19, who I also spoke to earlier this afternoon. Dr. Budhiraja, let me begin with you. If, boosters are indeed the way forward, there's no two ways about that, along, of course, with keeping up with, practices like social distancing and masking, though masking, of course, now not mandatory as it was earlier. But why now? Why has it taken this long, do you think, for the government to open this up for all citizens above the age of 80?
So I think, first of all, definitely a welcome move to have opened up the booster dose for the entire adult population. And definitely, I fully agree with what you are saying and what Vishnu just said, that actually we should have opened up the booster dose for the entire population a few months back. Because scientifically, world over, it is now known, and there is no reason why we need to create that science of our own, that there is a waning immunity. The antibody levels do go down over a period of time, especially from 6 months onwards. And that's the time a lot of studies world over have proven that the third dose acts as a booster and augments your antibody response. Obviously, there's other thing called the cell-mediated immunity, which stays for much longer and probably helps more or equally. But we have seen clearly that, the risk of reinfections increase if the immunity is gone down. Although even after taking the third dose, it is important to understand that your chances of getting a reinfection are still there. But what it helps you is from ensuring that you will not get a severe disease. It reduces the risk of hospitalizations and the death rate. So I think when it comes to adding another layer of protection, this is a very, very important. And we know that there are certain countries in the world like Israel, which is now talking about the fourth dose. And world over, very soon, that definition of what a complete vaccination means would go from 2 doses to 3 doses. And if by this time we had not started, definitely it would have been a big problem for Indians who are planning to travel. And mind you, it is not restricted for only those people who wish to travel. It is actually a very, very important safeguard. And more so when we know that new mutant strains will keep coming. Although hopefully we hope that with the immune status of the world now, the world population, we will not see something like what happened at the time of Delta
Fair
wave.
enough.
So it's a very welcome move, though a bit late.
Dr. Dasgupta, if adding this extra layer of protection, as we'll try and get back to him in a moment, I believe there's some problem there. Obviously lots to talk about over here. The third dose is going to be the same as the other 2 doses. Dr. Dasgupta, my question to you was essentially this. The fact that it's taken this long, would you say the reasoning is not just sort of this additional layer of protection that the health minister talks about, but the fact that it's really now becoming, impossible for people to travel? The world is sort of, opening up once again in a way where international travel is sort of much more happening a lot more than it was before. So, have all those factors really been taken into consideration rather than just protection from disease alone?
Thank you. Yes, travel may be a relatively imminent reason or issue, but as was discussed a little while earlier, that yes, the fact that it protects against severe disease, it protects against hospitalization and death, has indeed been established long back, and therefore that was the preeminent argument in favor of boosters. But on the other hand, to look at what at least one set of expert views has been, that seroprevalence in India remained pretty high all through, nearly at 100%. And therefore, the more urgent task was considered to be coverage, achieving coverage with the primary schedule. And therefore, that's what was being talked of as when is the proper time to bring in this booster for across the board for all ages. And these are pragmatic decisions which are being taken by experts, but yes, long awaited and certainly a most useful decision.
It's interesting that you use the word pragmatic, and Dr. Dasgupta, I'm going to sort of, question you a little more on this. How, is it only pragmatism then that governs this decision to make these paid booster shots or paid precautionary doses. We're talking about anything between 600 rupees to 900 rupees a vaccine dose. That makes it rather expensive for many, many people in the country. Does this mean that they are not, in fact, going to be able to get a third dose at all, or it's only restricted to those who can easily pay 900 rupees a shot?
No, pragmatism about timing. Now, the timing was being discussed and debated, possibly with the underlying assumption that, yes, this would continue to be a free vaccine for all age groups. That was at one point. Now, what really prompted this decision to make it paid for all between 18 and 60? I am not part of that decision-making process. But yes, this would certainly have a bearing on what proportion would actually take or receive this third paid dose between the ages of 18 and 60. At the same time, let's remember that UK, for example, somewhat in contrast to Israel, has offered, or rather is offering a fourth dose, a booster to all those even above 12 with very specific vulnerabilities, such as immune deficient states and so on. So the ability or the capacity to pay or the decision to making it paid is only one prerogative among many such, and there are many more important medical prerogatives as well, which ought to make these available for across the board for at least some specifically vulnerable populations.
That's an important point Dr. Dasgupta is making. Particularly for the extremely vulnerable, shouldn't this be free of charge or more easily available? Dr. Bodhiraja, your thoughts?
So my views are very, very strong and clear in this, that third dose of vaccination is absolutely must now for all individuals across whatever risk levels it is. Obviously, we all know that if you have taken the primary 2 doses and have had a disease, so this disease actually also acts as a booster. But, we know that the seroprevalence survey has shown that most of the population has had asymptomatic disease. So we really don't know who is infected and who is not infected. So first of all, I think third dose makes scientific sense, irrespective of whatever the seroprevalence of that country be. Number 2, yes, you are right that if we are making a statement that scientifically it is something which is required, should it be only offered as a paid vaccine? I can't really debate that. That's clearly a decision which is taken by the decision makers.
No, but as even if it's not a decision you've been party to, Dr. Bodhiraja, as a medical professional, how do you respond to a vaccine being available by virtue of its price only to some people and not available to others?
So I agree with that. In concept, it should be available to everybody and anybody who's a citizen of the country. I am sure that this is going to be a phased manner. See, if it was to be a paid vaccine, we could have easily done a few months back also, because India had never had a short supply of vaccine. In fact, we are hearing that the manufacturers had actually to stop producing the vaccines because there was, overproduction and sometimes even the issue of expiry. So this paid thing could have been done few months back. My thought was that this delay is happening, that the government would want to open it up completely. I think they are going to probably do it in a phased manner. So they are going to open up as a paid, and subsequently, hopefully, they should open it up to be available in most of the government hospitals, as is happening for those restricted age groups of 60 plus. So it's probably just a matter of time, but I would still want to put the clinical or the medical aspects of the situation, that it is something which is does not need to go through a review, a scientific review. It is something which is proven. World over it is being done. We must do it. And it's a welcome move that it's been done, although we could have probably done it few months back.
All right. Dr. Dasgupta, is that something you would broadly agree with? We were talking earlier also about the fact that this is going to be the same vaccine as people have taken in their first and second doses, and you were talking about the lack of data in sort of, moving forward with mixing and matching vaccines. So if you'd like to tell us a little more about that.
Yes, one was indeed waiting for the results of mix and match vaccines, which was also under trial in some Indian institutions. as we know, evidence from across the world did show that a heterologous mix, which is popularly the mix and match combination, produces or tends to produce a higher immunity or protection. But for best reasons known to the set of current decisions, as yet the mix and match option has not been prescribed for India. So anyone who got Covishield would continue with Covishield. Those who got Covaxin would continue with Covaxin, and so on. That is the current decision. But yes, these are evolving. This is an evolving scenario. So policies will also evolve. But yes, as Dr. Budhiraja very rightly said, it's not really about stock positions availability, because that has been in abundance for months now.
So, given that, then, Dr. Budhiraja, why would you say this decision has been so long in coming, particularly when it's been something that's being demanded for a very long time now? And all other countries in the world seem to be, already on their third, if not their fourth doses.
I think there are 3 points which scientific literature exists all over the world. One is third dose is needed. Second is heterologous augmentation, that is mix and match strategy works well and maybe actually better and more effective. And third is the timing of the third dose, which we have still kept it at 9 months, which world over is much lesser, 6 months or even lesser. Some countries are doing it 3 months. So I think we follow the world, but are a bit slow to sort of go by what the science has to say. So I would strongly say that all these three, that is offering the third dose, allowing a mix and match strategy, and probably next step considering even reduction of the interval between the second and the third dose. These are something which I'm sure the regulators are contemplating, thinking, discussing, and when they feel is the right time, they will come out with these advisories and changes, because there's an immense scientific data to exactly what I'm trying to put. Now, your question was why it has not been done so far. Well, I really would not be able to answer that question. Not privy to what went into taking that decision.
Okay, fair enough. And, that's a question we'll have to put to the decision makers. But for the moment, Dr. Budhiraja, Dr. Dasgupta, thank you so much for joining us.